Stay tuned. In today's mobile home investing podcast, we're talking about how these two active mobile home formula investors were able to flip almost double the amount of mobile homes you can see right here. We're talking about the sacrifices that had to be made, that age ain't nothing but a number, real world deal discussions, and overcoming bigotry and hate to grow an amazing mobile home investing business. All of that and much more in today's podcast. Let's just jump into it. How many deals have you been involved with up until this point? And right here, you wrote down around 75 deals. I mean, that's crazy that you don't get to that point without a lot of hard work, without a lot of sacrifice, things that people in, decades older than you don't want to do or don't, or get scared or the ingredients that you have. And maybe it's the support system of, two best friends, like doing it together. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Uh,
Definitely. I
man,
love the fact that you said sacrifice too, because especially whenever I got into real estate after about a year and a half, I had a pretty good successful start in the beginning. So I had a couple different agents under my wing that I would train and stuff
oh,
like that.
nice.
The question that I would always kind of ask them is how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be successful and things like that. Over the years, I've started to see that that might not be the best question to ask people that are looking for success. What I ask them now is, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to the goal that you
Whoa.
want? Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to. We all have 24 hours in a day, and we choose how we're going to spend those hours, basically. So, kind of switching that, looking at it like that, being like, okay, if I sacrifice this now, I can get to this goal, sooner than later, and being able to find the happy balance for it has definitely been a interesting road.
Give or take 10 grand or something. How much capital did you have set aside for mobile home purposes?
Um, Daniel, you can take this one because I know
Yeah,
we
for sure.
got a certain amount. Things change
Yeah,
every time.
exactly. Yeah, so we both, yeah, so Ian was doing real estate. I had worked food and bev throughout my end of high school, kind of first year out of high school. Was in at a pretty good, spot. That was a resort, so we were making some really good cash money and was able to kind of do a high savings, low spending type of lifestyle for a bit. Also got into like some crypto trading and stock investing, crypto investing, and so that was kind of another side route that I took for a while that was pretty well. But in terms of the capital that we started with, so I think it was $15,000 if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and that wasn't necessarily something that we had put aside specifically for investing. I think after purchasing the course and making sure that we both have the funds available, it was right around 15,000. We wanted to keep it as easy as possible, so I think it was something around, we both brought $7,500 to the table. Obviously the first big investment was the course, and then along with some preliminary things, getting like the website up and running, getting your first round of bandit signs, whatever else was the initial spent money. I think was around 5 grand,
Mhm.
and then we had about a $10,000 budget to start buying homes and then flipping homes with. So
Right on. You you got started with the website sooner than other folks. You got started
Mhm.
right away. With the 10 grand, that's that's a lot of money, and also it's also not a lot of money. You can, if you sell homes on payments, you can run out of that money pretty quick. So was what was when you heard mobile homes, were you thinking, oh, I'm going to get a park, or oh, cash flow, these things cash flow, and that's what I've heard, or flipping, let's take the wholesaling model with real estate and let's move it to mobile homes? Was it what first excited you, and then how has your business changed?
Yeah, so I think what really attracted us to mobile homes in the beginning was the cash flow kind of aspect of it. I mean, especially learning more about real estate and crypto and things like that. Passive income has definitely just been one of the glamorized things that we've always wanted to dream about with it, and learning a lot about the payments and being able to sell on owner finance for the mobile homes with such low money out of pocket was a very intriguing thought for us as we started getting exposed to the business and saw the quickness of being able to do the cash flips. I think it only took us maybe a few deals before we got kind of addicted to those and fell in love with it. And as you've known over the past couple of years, it's been kind of hard for us to transition back into the rentals just because the systems that we have for the cash flips have just been so easy to I'm not going to say easy, but we've gotten so adapted to be able to do that whenever we do find something that we do want to sell on payments, there has to be a certain criteria that we want it to be meet. And as of right now, we're trying to, before we get more into passive, usually probably find like a bigger project like a park to be able to dump some money into, just because the cash flows have just been keeping us so busy and a little bit easier to manage.
So if I'm hearing correctly, the very little or few to none homes you have cash flowing, they've all been paydays. I mean, cash, get your money out. And I love what you're doing. And you have bigger goals. I mean, these individual mobile homes, they're like a stepping stone to get to stuff that we'll talk about later in the program and the call. But dude, you're both doing it right. How's it been working together? I know that, like, how do you balance not wanting to strangle each other sometimes? Or, I mean, I don't, unless your personalities are so well, or you've just known each other for so long. Yeah. What are some hurdles or?
Yeah, well, so we were both really good friends, before the business side of things. Like I said, high school days, lots of really fun, crazy memories. But as we started moving into being business partners, I mean, man, I'll give Ian a shout out, man. I mean, he's just been the greatest, easygoing to work with. I mean, we both kind of take pride in having strong attributes with different things. Sometimes we overlap there, and we both are pretty good at some stuff or pretty bad at some stuff. But all in all, like I think we've been able to find what we're good at personally, and then really kind of let the other person do what they do well, take care of it. And then, if there is a space where like needs improving, or, there's something that has to get done that we neither one of us want to do, maybe. I mean, there's really, as crazy as it sounds, 2.5 years of pretty much on a daily basis, talking about things friendship wise and business wise. I mean, it's just been not really had to think about, having to strangle each other or, have any too big of problems. So I know they say, keeping friends and business separate is a lot of times what people say to do. But yeah, like I said, it's just been pretty easy going in terms of that from the jump. So it's been really awesome.
But yeah, as rare as it sounds, I think it's crazy. I can't really recall a time that me and Daniel have ever been particularly like mad at each other. I think one thing that we pride ourselves in, especially as as friends and also business owners too, is just communication. If being able to communicate how you feel, not every day you're going to be 100%, and being able to acknowledge that. And some days I might be slacking, and rather than me not showing up and just kind of putting that on him, it's a simple text or a simple call of saying, hey man, I've got some stuff going on right now, or I've got a couple stuff going on in a couple days. Being able to communicate that, and we just have such a good work balance of, just like Daniel said, we both have our strengths and all the different attributes and different avenues of the business, but being able to work each other daily for as long as we had. If one of us needs to take over for a little bit, for whether one of us wants to go on another trip, or just need some time off or anything like that, the system that we built has been very easy pass off without it being too much of a burden for the other person. So Daniel said too, saying if there's a thing that neither of us want to do, ultimately it's better, if we both do it together. We both kind of stuff that we both want to do together at one point, or being able to go back and forth and certain stuff. So yeah, having a person that's will you can feel very comfortable around, but also will hold you accountable is definitely something that we've been very grateful to have in our lives. So I mean, it's especially us being the age that we're at, and it being a certain kind of a niche of a business, what I'm saying? There's only so many people that you can kind of, talk to and ask questions for, and us being able to bounce, ideas off each other. And, there have been times where we've sitting in a room for, hours and hours and hours trying to come up with a single solution for, saying a few different questions and how to, make $1 million in X amount of time and things like that. And, but it's just, every time we have those conversations, we just, learn a little bit more about it, and, take it and do our best to be able to implement it. So.
Yeah. That's the real podcast we should be doing, is how to make $1 million in the next
Right.
60 days. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
100%. And I think the one thing more to go into that with the kind of balance between everything is, when you were asking about the lifestyle, like how do we try to set this business up around the lifestyle that we wanted, working in either real estate or kind of a 9 to 5 type of job. Before getting into the mobile home investing, there was just certain things there that we wanted. Like, we wanted to be able to travel. That's something that's big, high priority on both of our lifestyle bucket list type of thing. Having a workspace that you don't go to work and hate your life every day, right? That's definitely big. Being able to be around family, being able to just kind of do what you want to do with your life without not waking up 5 years later and saying, hey, I got some money saved up, but this has been awful the whole time, So being able to make sure that we're accomplishing those things, like traveling, like making money while still enjoying our lives, doing that as a team, being a partnership. I think that's really been a plus there as well, because like you said, we can hold each other accountable to not only the work stuff, but the life stuff as well. Like, hey man, I know you wanted to go on this trip, let's make it happen. Or hey, you've been, putting in 60 hours this week to this business, let's go have a good time, in our life, whatever. So yeah, definitely having, because I feel like if you're in something by yourself, sometimes it can feel like I just gotta go until I'm where I want to be. But having that accountability to make sure we're enjoying our lives is important as well. So
That is what I needed to hear, like in my 20s, that I was not that. I mean, I did not have a good balance. I wasn't miserable by any means, and I was doing this business, but I didn't, man, no, I love the fact that you worked and you played as well and traveled and had a good, at least you were conscious of that balance.
Mhm.
So you don't burn
it's not
yourself
always
out.
easy, because like you have all these goals financially that you set with your business that you want to hit, and if they're not getting hit, then you feel like, hey, I need to put more work into the business, which that is very true sometimes. Sometimes you do have to dial in and do more, but sometimes not killing yourself with the business and enjoying life, doing the things we want to do is like very important to us as well. So I think we do a really good job balancing that.
Definitely. And I think, a lot of times, goals change. I mean, the goals that you had at the beginning of the quarter versus the half of the year versus what you had last year or 2 years ago. I mean, those things change. And, I feel at one point I was operating my life on an old version of myself's goals. And that didn't, correlate into what I wanted to do. So being able to, I call it the zoom out method, where you kind of zoom out and, really prioritize, what's important to you. And life changes by the day. So what you want, like I said 3 months ago to what you want 3 months from now can completely change. And I think being a business and as an entrepreneur in general is you have to be adaptable. And if you're not adaptable with markets and lifestyle and timelines and how many hours you're putting in, it's very easy to get left behind. So
So
we're
right.
very on top to be able to have those conversations. We make sure that we talk hours per week to make sure that we're moving in the direction that we both think is right. So. Yeah, and then I guess another one we had first, handyman flip that we did out into the country, and this was maybe our third or fourth deal. And Daniel mentioned it earlier. It was a '90s mobile home, metal siding, metal roof, no HVAC, no power, just big hot metal box ready to get renovated, basically. And so this is where you find out where your real friends are. Like I said earlier in the business, had
Yeah.
no systems, no contractors, no nothing, just a couple dollars in a dream. So we call up our buddies and we're just like, hey man, we're looking to flip this mobile home. Can you come out and paint with us? And we had a couple people crazy enough to say, yeah, we'll come out and help you out. So it's just us for maybe 2 days straight. And by that time I think it was like midsummer, like July, August in South Carolina, so easily over 95 degrees. And we just have pictures and videos of us just drenched in sweat doing the most awful paint job you can, with paint all over the floor and just I mean, just not systemized at all. It was just a complete mess. And eventually after like 2 to 3 days of working, we start kind of maybe this isn't the best exit strategy for it. So we just kind of took a whim. We're just like, man, we just can't keep sacrificing our time getting out of here. So we ended up putting it up for sale for a really crazy number. I mean, this was horrible looking. It was half painted, just a completely ugly trailer. And ironically, we had somebody reach out to us, and Daniel ended up closing it for, I think, asking price. Honestly, if it
Wow.
wasn't asking price, it was like pretty darn close. And I think we probably made more selling it like that than what we initially planned on, renovating it, and then what we had is in terms of the ARV. So that was definitely kind of a learning lesson in terms of have different exit strategies and be prepared to change lanes if need be.
What an eye opener, or that people aren't seeing it. We're seeing all the negatives because we know what it looked like or we know how we bought it. But to somebody else, they're seeing the potential in the home and the walls and the bedrooms and
Mm-hmm.
um,
Sure.
that's awesome.
Yeah, one of the funny parts of that story as well was like I remember being out there late one night, trying to finish up this beautiful paint job that we're doing. And so once it gets dark, we have a few lights, I think, set up like work lights, but definitely not the best visibility going on. And so we wrap up for the night. We're like, all right, we finally got this, the couple rooms done or whatever it was, packed up shop, headed home. And then the next day when we headed out, when the sun was out and we had plenty of visibility, it was just like this is not the same paint job that we left it.
We were sitting there with our phones with the lights on, trying to roll it and make sure everything was. I mean, because it had no power and we had
Yes.
no street lights or anything. We were just kind of doing what we can. And
I think that's the day that we decided, hey, let's see what we could maybe sell it.
On average, is there an average deal?
Yeah, so I would say like probably somewhere around sub 50% are in parks. Probably closer to 25 to 35% are homes that are in parks. In the area we're in, it's a kind of like a pretty metro city type of area, but then the outskirts are a lot of more rural places. So what we've seen is in the more rural outskirts, there's a ton of homes that are older. Whether it's mid to late 80s, 90s models, 2000s even that are on a piece of land and the property owner wants it removed for a number of different reasons. So most of our deals, I'd say right around 50 to 75% are actually homes that have to be removed from the property. And then of that, I'd say probably about half of them are what we call like the quick flip style, where it's more so just like an old home, they just want it gone. So we'll get it hauled out, cleared out, maybe deep cleaned, and then we pretty much be ready to get it going that way. And then the other probably about 50% are renovation style homes that need some work, and so we also have a pretty good system to get the renovations done as well and get the home back into livable condition, and maybe even update it a bit, make it a little more appealing, and then finding somebody that wants to have that moved onto their land as their new home. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have so you are fixing up some of these? Do you have a dealer's lot that you're moving them to as like a holding point, or you keep kind of keeping them where they are?
yeah, so we have a couple options there. That's kind of part of like the criteria we look at in the system that we've figure out kind of what our exit strategy for each home is. Because a lot of the homes that need renovations, you could also get them sold as is without the renovations done to like a handyman or maybe a dealer mover that wants to move it to their lot and fix it up. So we have some options there. We actually have another buddy, a real estate investor friend that has a lot out a couple cities over from us that we can move them to and flip them up or fix them up there. So we've done that a couple times as well. So a couple different options there. And then sometimes the landowner is aware that the home needs some renovations. And so sometimes we'll just have that conversation with them and make sure that it's cool if we send our guys out to get it fixed up. So
Yes.
we've learned a lot of the issues that you deal with mobile home investing can be avoided if you're just honest with the people that you're doing the transaction with. So if the home is in need, we take on some pretty big jobs sometimes and things like that, especially with working some older homes, and being able to let the seller know, like, hey, we're going to have to get this home looked at and inspected to make sure that even the structural integrity is good enough to even be able to get onto a truck. And being able to communicate them. Like I said, I think communication is a big thing that a lot of people lack, especially within transactional type businesses. If you're going to send a crew to be able to go onto the lot or something that has to be fixed, letting the homeowner know what day and time they're going to be able to show up, answering it's little things like that, just going a little bit over the extra mile just to make sure everybody that's involved in the transaction is aware of what's going on.
Do you think your age? Yeah. Do you think your age helps in certain ways?
Um, I would say 10 to 15% in terms of my appointments say something positive in terms of my age, if that makes sense. Everything else is kind of more of a hindrance to an extent. Whenever you're a little bit younger, you have to prove yourself a little bit more. You have to, definitely, communicate that you know what you're talking about and, make these people feel confident in you since they're, trusting you to be able to do, what can be to them, a really big transaction. So that's definitely a hurdle that we both had to, kind of get over. But, that comes down to, your professionalism, doing what you say you're going to do, and also the track record of the deals that we've done to, show like, hey, this is what we've done, this is what we built, here's what we can do for you, and, sticking to it. So,
Have you ever leaned on the common thing where it's like, I got a partner, I got to talk to my boss, got to talk to my, these
oh,
other
well,
people? Okay.
oh,
So
you'd be surprised how many times I say I have to call Mr. Daniel to get the thumbs up on something. So,
all
but,
right, good.
yeah, and I
Um,
think that's actually something we picked up in the course too. I think there was at one point, talking about maybe different personas that you could play as you're running these appointments.
Mm.
And I think one of them was kind of that, smaller fish in a big ocean type of thing where you can kind of play that you're, maybe running the acquisition appointment, but you're not the decision maker.
big time.
And so what that can do obviously is help with yeah, different offers and things. They're not gonna say, hey, what is this 20-year-old kid gonna offer me, on the spot for my home? Rather, hey, they're just running an appointment. They have a team that they're working with, which is true. We do have a team, but a
Right.
lot of times it is
You,
just a two-man team. So
And that also kind of helps with the person that they're in communication with to be able to, negotiate the offer. They're not the bad guy. They're not the person, I'm saying, that's sending the low offer. You could, and just being able to communicate with that people and let them know, and having the conversation is the more information that you can give me to, take to my partner or take to my team, the better that we can understand, what your goals are to make sure that we can get as close as we can to, accomplish those. So being able to, have somebody else to call before, one decision is made too. And it's good to just get a second pair of eyes on things as well too. I mean, one way you could be looking at a deal, and take it to, Daniel to look at it, and he's just like, well, have you thought about this, or what if this happens? You're like, oh well, yeah, that is an option.
oh,
So
you're right.
so yeah, it definitely helps out.
A, a lot of us don't necessarily like conflict. So even just buying yourself a little bit of time to, it was funny. I was doing when I was, I was like, let me talk to my partner. And so I made a fake phone call and was pretending I was calling someone. And then I was having this really in-depth conversation, like, I don't know if we can do this. Try like the seller was a little further away, but I kind of knew that they were going to hear. And then
Right.
it started ringing real loud as I'm talking, like, I'm like, oh, what happened? The call dropped. I thought I was talking to you. And like, it just felt like so stupid.
Yeah,
Like, but yeah.
with that, I mean, that's for sure. So
yeah, we've definitely had some buyer negotiations, where we'll definitely call one another and, like you said, kind of just play a good part of, do you think we can do it for a couple thousand left? So, well, let me talk to my partner, I don't think we can go down that far, maybe meet in the middle somewhere. So it is a pretty,
he
Are
said if we
you?
can he said he can meet you if we can do this date and
Yeah.
this. Are we good? Are we good? They
Let
said
me
we're good.
talk to him. Let me talk to him. Put on
Yeah.
speakerphone.
yeah.
Have you had anybody else discriminate you for on anything else, looks or what you did or what you didn't do or anything like that, or where you're from?
All the time. So, South Carolina definitely has a lot of different, demographics for the different areas and stuff like that. And, one big thing for me is I'm always, covered with tattoos, basically from, head to toe, my legs and arms and stuff like that. And it took me a long time, probably from like 18 to 20 years old. Whether it was 115 degrees outside, I would have a, button up long sleeve shirt up, just, covering everything. And as I grew older, kind of, grew more confidence and stuff, it came down to the conclusion, well, if they're not able to work with me due to, what I choose to put on my body, or, the color that I am, but that's not someone I want to do business with, in general. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, people rarely, say anything, but you can definitely, see the little, like, look up and down and, be able to, kind of validate yourself for them. And, but yeah, I mean, the amount of, racist comments that we've kind of gotten, I've gotten certain appointments and stuff like that. That's definitely been out there. I've had some deals,
Damn,
not deals
screw
go
them.
due to, how I look and things like that too. But, at the end of the day, if it was meant to happen, it was meant to happen. And, it didn't. So probably made our lives a little bit easier than, if we would have actually took that transaction and had someone you kind of, on our butt the entire time.
A bunch of idiots. I don't want your money because
Yeah, exactly. Hey man, if you don't want the money, that's fine. We'll spend it somewhere else. So
it's like, hey, talk to my partner then.
yeah, exactly. But hey, but,
And I know I was listening to one podcast of yours, John, that y'all were talking about kind of the similar thing with the age. And definitely when we first started, I was still, I think, 18 years old. Ian was probably around 21. And so we were both definitely on the younger side of things. And it was cool hearing y'all talk about it because I remember when we first started, like Ian said, I had really no experience negotiating, no experience presenting contracts, even if it's a one-page simple bill of sale, like no experience at all. And being to hear other people go through the similar things of, hey, I'm so young, I'm going to try and, deepen my voice when I talk on the phone, or I'm going to try and dress up in this nice professional outfit to maybe please the seller or buyer that I'm going to talk with. And with everything Ian just said as well, we kind of both kind of came to the conclusion that, like, if you can just be yourself and not stress out about it, not even really consider the pre-consumption somebody's going to make when they see you as anything, then it just makes the whole process a lot easier. Like, we definitely have prided ourselves in not really trying to
Yeah,
be something that we're not while we're conducting business. So
dude, heck yeah, great job being yourself. You don't have to think about who was I pretending to be, or how are these people going to think? This business is difficult enough without having to like appease people for
Mhm.
some stupid reasons. People don't care how much you know when they know how much you care about them and like
Mhm.
listening to their situation. Because yeah, as like that employee partner role, you don't have to know everything. They
Mhm.
send you to the appointment because you're the people person, and because you're getting the info, and then all the math and offers can be done at the office or later, Nick.
Right.
So
And it's, a transaction. It's, especially with, with negotiating for the ones that we're purchasing for acquisitions, it's about trust, they could, especially in a more competitive market that we're in, they could have 3 to 5, other investors come by and make an
yeah.
offer for it, things like that. Sometimes we're in competition with it, but, being able to have that conversation with the seller and be like, okay, well, we've got the price dictated. What else is important to you? What are these other things that we could potentially stack onto our offer to be able to make this deal work, because we want to be able to provide a service-based business, and if you do choose to trust us to do this transaction for you, you want to make sure that you don't think it was a regret 6 weeks down the line or anything like that. So
Are you actually saying that, or is that more your mentality to try to pull out what they need and solve it for them, or do you just
oh, no,
straight up ask them?
I'll say that yeah, I'll say that on the phone all the time.
Okay.
Especially when we're super close on numbers. I'll ask them. It obviously sounds that for the numeric part of the equation that we're going to be able to come to an agreement. I have confidence in that. What is important to you in the terms of that? You're going to get paid at the end
Wow.
of the sale. But on top of that, what is anything else that we're able to do to sweeten this deal to make sure that that you're not getting the short end of the stick by working with us, basically. So
I think usually it seems that like it's something regarding the timeline, like they need maybe a
Oh,
couple extra weeks to get the furniture out, or, this or that. And then also with making sure that the property, if it is a home that's getting removed from the property, making sure that the property is, maintained in the condition that they want it. So like a lot of times, you'll see a mover go out and move a home and the entire property is wrecked just from, getting that home moved off. And so, if that's a big priority to them, then we can also kind of offer some things to help make sure that the lot gets cleaned up and that it maintains a good presentation throughout the process, so that it doesn't look like a crazy, jumbled mess is going on for several weeks out on their property. So,
talk about communication. I mean,
mhm.
if you can get them, the buyer or the seller, communicating with you more, they've told you both more than they've told somebody else. That is huge. I mean,
Mhm.
that's builds builds trust, builds rapport. I mean, gives you a little bit of an edge there.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah, I think having the clear expectations from both parties, is a really key ingredient to make sure that there's less disappointment, or even no disappointment in terms of a transaction. How well you prepare, the seller, you prepare your buyer in terms of timelines, and what's going to walk them through the transaction. Answering the questions before they even ask them. I always like that, very important in terms of that, just so that way by the time that they get to the end of the phone call, we get to ask them, well, is there anything else that you want to ask or anything like that? And it's like, not really. You basically covered all the bases, and very impressed with the presentation, and it goes a long way. I mean, making the phone call, 2 extra minutes, just be able to build these rapport and making these people feel comfortable with you. That can add countless numbers of deals if you're just willing to put in a little bit of effort on the transactions for it. So
Yeah,
I
we
help.
get we get calls all the time of people that are like, trying to find a title for a home that's detitled, or they lost a title, or they just have, like you said, kind of different questions, mobile home related, and they'll just see our our sign, or our advertisement somewhere, and call us and just ask the question. And we definitely try to
Yes.
present good answers, and be very kind of, like you said, customer service based. Just because you never know, whenever down the road that person's have another question or want to sell or want to buy, and you can always be kind of one of their first contacts for it. So
It's funny that the last home that we actually just closed on, the double wide that we had, it actually started 6 months ago when we had a 15-20 minute conversation about the steps of contacting the Blythewood, the DMV, to be able to get the title that was lost, that was never be able into it, and being able to take that time and help her. She saved my information, and then it's the day that she got the title in hand, she called us, and 2 days later we were closing on it, and it's a really good deal. So it definitely comes back around for sure.
Was that an outlier? Do they usually take closer to 6 months from start, like you initially talk to the person to then you're, closing with that home? Or is it more like you talk to them Tuesday and you're closing on Wednesday? Or
It really depends on the situation that the person's in. A lot of the times, some transactions are where people are inheriting different mobile homes. Probate's a really big one. Divorce and things like that. Sometimes, the home will be their father's, and they never, got the title transferred, and then dad passed away, and how to be able to, make sure everything gets signed up for them. So with things like that, we do our best to be able to get them in touch with the DMV, because the DMV, they're the ones that are going to tell you, what has to be done in order to, get that title. And there's certain things that they're going to operate at their own speed, obviously. So most of the times that we've seen, if it's a title that has to go through probate and stuff like that, a lot of times we'll see, anywhere from about 2 to 6 months. But if it's, I mean, we got one title right now where they just got into the mail, and because their mother passed away, they have to get all three siblings to sign the back of the title for them to be able to get the mother taken off the title. So I'm on the phone with her daily, on the phone with the brother, telling him and screenshotting where to sign, and then they're going to overnight it over to the sister and show her where to sign. And then once that sister signs, it comes back to where we're at in Charleston for the last sister, and then we get it, transferred over. So, but and that's been a transaction that's taken us about 6 months. But in terms of the actual hours that you're putting into it, it's not that much, and you're going to get paid at the end of it. So it's worth it.
Yes, it does make it worth it. Wow.
And some of the deals are definitely a lot quicker. If they have a free title in hand, they have full ownership of the home. Then a lot of times it can be the same week where we get the call or whatever, go out and check out the home, and then within a day or two, or there with the cashier's check, getting the title and transferring it into our name. So it really depends, I guess, in terms of the timeline for it too. So.
I'd say one of our easiest deals was probably mid last year. And like I said, we try to run our business in terms of a service-based business. So we always try to, ask as many questions as we can to the seller to make sure that, they feel like they're getting a good deal as well. And it was wide in a community. It was actually a 55 plus community. And this home had to be, I think they were removing it from the park due to them wanting to put like a newer home into it. So they contacted us to kind of help with that transaction. And I met the lady, I met the mom that was living in the home, and then also the daughter, at the home, walked through everything, got pictures, had the conversation. And, I asked them, what their ultimate goal was, and, how much they wanted to, walk away with it. And they set a price. And instantly I was just like, okay, yeah, we could, do this deal, no problem at all. So, with that price. So ended up calling back, talk with them a little bit. I think we ended up offering maybe $1,000 or a couple $100 less than I'm saying what their asking price was, but still established a price that they were very, very happy with, as well as with the community and things like that. So we ended up closing on a Wednesday. I think we had it deep cleaned on a Thursday, and then we ended up selling it for 3 times what we paid for it on Friday.
Whoa. You had so many people ready, or that you had a buyer's list, or?
Yeah, at this point in time, we built a good relationship with another investor, kind of mid-state, and the particular home was just the exact criteria of what he was looking for, basically. And he was just said, as soon as we found something, let him know. So we let him know, basically, Thursday whenever we were getting it cleaned. He came down, the morning after, and ended up closing that afternoon. So worked out pretty perfect.